When I was a lot younger, I was what you'd call a bookworm. I'd be able to finish one book within 2 to 3 days, and sometimes if the story really gripped my attention, then I wouldn't put it down until I'd finished reading it, and that would be within the same day that I'd started. But then, as studies got harder and other work had become my main priority and I'd become occupied within that, I wasn't able to find the time to sit and read. So thanks to Rajita Auntie, my reading journey has once again resumed with Dear Ariyasinha from where it had left off. Most of what I wanted to say today, my fellow speakers have already covered, so I'll keep this very short. When I had first received this book, I knew that this was not a genre or style of book that I had read before. From reading the prelude and foreword of Dear Ariyasinha, I had gathered that this book was a collection of letters written to Ariyasinha, a fictional singular character. Initially, I thought that this was going to be a hard read and that I would struggle to understand the political backdrop weaved within these letters. However, I was wrong. It was a very easy read with simple language, and the letters flowed very smoothly from one another. There were points within this book where I felt as if I myself was the recipient of these letters. The literature style of writing letters made it a very personal experience and gave an insight into the lives and minds of the two different characters. The letters consisted of memories, reflections, experiences, and many questions about the 30 years of peaceful protests, 30 years of armed conflict, and the aftermath of the so-called civil war. These were not just letters, but a way of expressing the oppressed emotion that has been held in all these years. Reverend Father Anbarasa has combined two significant historical events, one being the 30-year armed conflict, which ended in 2009, and the other being Aragalaya, which was held in Gullface Green, Colombo in 2022. These letters have been written not to a single individual, but to a fictional representative of the whole singular population. Reverend Ambrasa is not only the author of these letters, but also the collective voice of the Tamils. Reverend Ambrasa has followed the timeline of the Aragalaya protest and compared the reasons for protest, timeline of events, the frustrations and anger that grows during these protests with the Tamil struggle in the north and east of Sri Lanka. Comparing two historical events without it sounding one-sided can be an extremely difficult matter, and it is something that needs to be dealt with care and caution. Although this is a sensitive topic for many, Reverend Anbarasa has dealt with it sympathetically and without any sort of bias towards one event. He has not made one group's pain superior to the other, but rather explained the struggles and challenges that Tamils faced during that period. Reverend Anbarasa has recorded facts and many of his personal experience that he himself has endured and events that he has seen and heard of during this painful period. The details into which he has recorded these events really shows the true horror that our people had to live through. The emotion and the pain in the language is extremely moving for the reader. As a child born and raised in the UK, the knowledge of what I have about the war period is what I have learnt from conversations with my parents and what I have learnt from in places like Tamil school and things I've watched and heard on the news. This book really gave me an insight into the details that I did not know. For example, the difficult routes taken to travel from one place to another, how life was like in bunkers, studying with the Kobakarma lamp, and so on. These are all details that are all new to me, and thanks to Dear Ariyasinha, I have been educated of this. The greatest obstacle to inter-ethnic empathy is the ignorance of one another's past, present, and future goals, history, and suffering. People being unaware of each other's past and struggle is the main problem for lack of empathy and prejudice. This needs to change. This can only be changed through educating upcoming generations and creating awareness of our history and our struggles. As Reverend Anbarasa mentioned in his introduction to Dear Ariyasinha, Sharing his reflections through these letters is a humble attempt to create awareness so that no citizen sheds the blood we shed or cries the tears we cried. I hope Reverend Anbarasa continues his efforts to share the pain and horrors faced by our people and create awareness to future generations through his future literatures. Thank you for this opportunity.